Hello, and thank you for your interest in Epiphany AI Math Tutoring. Today, we'll be walking through the student and tutor experience and how a student and tutor can work together through Epiphany to help with problems and allow a tutor to see access, to have access to the different problems students are working on and see where they're running into trouble. Let's start out by logging in as a student. I have Epiphany student set up here. Let's go ahead and log in. And I have already set this student up to join the learning community of, well, a couple of people, me at my tutoring site, and then also Epiphany Tutor, who is at support@epiphany.com. So I'm going to go back to my assignments. And since I've already joined, I am logged in here as Epiphany Tutor, and I have a new assignment that the tutor can assign to a student. I'm going to go to Student Assignments. Oh, I'm sorry, Manage Assignments. I can look at the assignments the student's already done, or I can take this assignment, which I've called Tutor Demo, and I'm going to assign this to Epiphany Student. I'm going to send it without steps. I can send them an example of something that's already completed if I wanted to share a completed problem as a demo or an example, or some things that are partially done. This is going to be a new assignment, something that might be assigned by a teacher, or maybe the tutor entered this themselves. I'm going to assign that without steps. And now if I come back here and reload the assignments page, I now have this tutor demo, and I'm going to walk through some of these problems here. Let's start out with this. Here I have a bunch of problems that might be typical of different types of courses. It's designed for problems that have multiple steps to them. It's not really intended for learning how to add fractions, learning your multiplication tables. Really algebra and above, maybe pre-algebra. We have a basic algebra problem to start with and some other more advanced ones later on. We won't do all of them, but we'll do some of them. So let's start out here. I'm going to start out by moving all the x's to the left and the numbers to the right, and I get 2x equals 8. Oops, wait a minute. I made a mistake. Well, what did I do? I did the same thing to both sides. I did minus x plus 1, and I simplified the right side, and I simplified the left side. And I'll go ahead and click Save. And hey, it's going to recommend, it looks like you did multiple steps, and you made a mistake along the way. Let's try doing one thing at a time. Oh, I'm going to subtract x from both sides. I'll do 2x minus 1 equals 9. I'm just hitting enter here, but there's also a GUI I can use for entering any of this, and also more advanced functions from, let's hide that, more advanced functions from trigonometry to other types of relationships to calculus and more advanced symbols that might be necessary. The system also has a handwriting system where you can enter problems like this. I'll do that here. I have a touch screen here. I'm just going to enter 2. Yeah. Try that again. Hello. Sometimes it gets a little confused. There we go. In full screen mode. I'm going to cancel that. There we go. Let's try that again. 2x equals 10. It'll put that in there, and I can hit enter. And I now have that step correct. And I'll finish it up with x equals 5. Enter. And when you're done, you can simply click the done button down here. And we're done with this. I can then enter some information about this. I've entered information on these comments, and then I can go over here as the tutor, and either now if I was watching it live, or I could look at this later if I wanted to. I could look at my student assignments. Hey, here's tutor demo. I want to review this. Here's a problem with a mistake in it. Let's take a look at that. Good catch. Take one step at a time until you're confident in it. And I can add comments here as well to share information and maybe even add other comments about steps that were taken. Let's go back to the tutor view. Moving on to the next problem. I'm going to remove the handwriting version of this, and we're just going to enter this manually. And I'm going to start this one. Let's just say x squared minus 5x plus 1 equals negative 3. X squared minus 5x plus 1 plus 4 equals 0. And now x minus 4, x minus 1 equals 0. I've factored it. And maybe now I put in the answer x equals 1. I might get some feedback. Oh, let's try that again. X equals 1 or 4. I can enter it this way. There's also a couple of other ways that I can enter these answers. I can enter x equals 1 comma 4. This isn't quite mathematically correct, but it's about making sure we understand what the student's doing. Or I could enter this based on the quadratic equation. X equals let's put this in wrong. Negative 5 plus or minus. Oh, I got to use the symbol for that, which is over here. And I think this is under functions. There we go. Plus or minus square root of 25 minus 4 times 1 over 2. And it's going to know that, oh, I got the 5 wrong there. Let's cancel this because I know what I did. I have a copy and paste button. I'm going to just hit copy here, and I'm going to hit paste here. I'm just going to get rid of that negative 5, make it a positive 5. And I've got it right. Now I can hit done. I'm all done with this one. Let's move on to another problem. We can do the same things with absolute value problems. Let's go on to the next problem here. Let me go back to the demo. We can do the same thing with something like this with theta and a trigonometric equation. I do want to show an example of plugging in. There's a number of different options. We're going to be adding more options soon. You'll see one example of what I mean by that here in a minute. Here, I want to plug in x equals 5. That's the objective of this problem. So that's easy. Y equals 3 times 5 squared plus 2. If I just hit next step, it's going to say that's a mistake because, hey, the problem is different from the last step. I have to tell it that I'm going to plug in x equals 5. And now when I hit next step, it'll confirm that that's correct. And I can say x equals 77 and click done, and that problem's done. Oops, I put the wrong variable in there. It pointed that out to me. Y equals 77. Mark that as done. And let's go on to the next problem. I'll skip this one. We can handle logarithms, all the typical functions you would see. Our system isn't going to be perfect with the math, but it's designed to handle any problems and any way the student might happen to enter it. If a student does have trouble with it, there is a way to enter information without having our system review it, or to continue anyway if they think they got it right, but they didn't quite figure it out, or maybe they're not sure what they're doing. They want to keep going anyway. There's a way to do that. Let's go on to the next problem. I'm going to go on to this one here. Okay, here I have a more advanced problem that we might run into in calculus. You'll notice that right now this just says y is equal to the derivative of this function. Eventually we'll add a bunch more features like simplify, factor, specific operations you might want to do. This would be differentiate. What we have here is that y is equal to the derivative of this function. It's a way of solving a derivative problem. And I'm going to just type this in manually, y equals d dx. Actually, let's do the first step manually. The function is cotangent squared of sine of x. So the first step is going to be 2 times cotangent of sine of x. We're going to multiply that by the derivative of cotangent of sine of x. I'm just going to leave it like this and do this one step at a time. Let's see if I got that first step right. I did. That's good. Let's do this again. I can copy and paste here, so I'm going to copy this and paste here, and I'm going to simplify this derivative. When I take the derivative of cotangent of sine of x, derivative of cotangent is negative cotangent of sine of x times cosecant of sine of x. And let's see what happens when I click this. Oops, I missed something. What did I miss? I forgot to take the derivative using the next step in the chain rule. I did the same thing. No, I simplified the right side. I figured out mistake. I forgot to use the chain rule again. Save. Remove that comment. Copy and paste here. And I can multiply this by d dx of, well, let's just call this cosine of x. That's easy enough. And this should be right unless I made another mistake here someplace. I made another mistake here someplace. What did I do? Silly me, I was thinking of the derivative of cosecant. I got it wrong. It caught the problem for me. It's negative cosecant squared of sine of x times the derivative of sine of x. Let's try it this way. That's correct. And now I can just make this cosine of x, and I'll have the final answer for this. So the key is it catches little mistakes along the way. And I have found as a tutor for more than 35 years, the vast majority of mistakes, as students get more and more advanced in their studies, are not the more advanced material. By calculus, 90% of the mistakes are mistakes in foundational math. They're trigonometry errors, they're logarithm errors, even simple errors like sign errors or stuff like 2 times 4 is 6. Everybody does it. Doesn't mean you're bad at math. Doesn't mean that you're not capable of doing it. But if you make a mistake like that in a calculus problem, it's really hard to catch it. So let's go back to the tutor situation, the tutors page. And once again, we can go back to our teacher tools and look at our student assignments. Here we have tutor demo. I'm going to review this, and I can see the problems where there were mistakes. I can review individual problems and look what's happening. I can say what happened here. What type of mistake was this? Calculus issues, mistake detail. I'm going to enter chain rule. And we can do some analytics later after students have done a bunch of work to see what types of mistakes they tend to make. Here we have a mistake. Again, this is a calculus mistake. And this one is trig functions. Derivative of cotangent of x. Made a mistake with that. And I can even put comments in here about specifics. Good catch. Review your trig derivatives. And the student can then see this information on their page. I can go here. Let's go back. I'm going to go back and reload this. Let's just reload this page. There's that comment. I can see the comment from the teacher, and I can continue with other problems. I can enter my own problems or do whatever I want to next from here. I also have the ability as a teacher to look at reports on all of my students. I'm going to add something that's intended as a tutor report for all of my students or different groups of students. But I can look at, show me for all the problems in this range, the problems with mistakes, and I'm going to update this filter. And here are the problems that have mistakes in this time range. There's one problem on differentiation, but I made a mistake on this one here. I can review that. Something similar sort of problem. This was a product rule problem. I can go back. Well, that opened it separately. And I can look at any of these in more detail, or I can select specific students or specific assignments and look at what kind of mistakes are being made. And then I can also look at analytics of what types of mistakes have they made over time, so that I can help figure out what things do they need to practice. Is it certain types of mistakes that keep coming up, and help them to figure out where those mistakes are occurring. Thanks for checking out Epiphany. We look forward to working with you.